Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be doing a HID projector retrofit for my 2017 Chevy Colorado. As you can see, I've already removed the headlight from my truck. There is some finesse involved in doing that. So that's the first step, is removing your headlights from your vehicle. The next step is assembling all of the parts you need. Now I'm using the Retrofit Source Colorado-Quik Retro system for this build. And this build lets you kind of pick the parts that you want, but the main part is those projectors there, which are a Morimoto 4 TLR Bi-Xenon projector. These will fit right into the place of the OEM projectors. The other stuff is, I guess, you can source it yourself, but the Retrofit Source lets you just kind of put together a kit and gets everything you need. Everything you're going to need for this is obviously a set of projectors, a set of bulbs, which I'm using OEM HID bulbs from Philips. These are D2S 85122 bulbs these are 4300K in color. These are OEM. You'll need a set of igniters. These are the Morimoto igniters. I'm using the Morimoto XB35 35 watt ballasts. Also, I'm using a pair of high beam splitters because these new projectors are Bi-Xenon. You can hook on to your existing high beams and allow these to function as a Bi-Xenon projector as well with your OEM high beam. Since the Colorado has a separate set of high beams on the vehicle by itself, this allows them to work in tandem. Then you're also going to need a capacitor link, which allows you to not have any error codes when you are driving around. I'm going to dig into this, show you how it all goes together. I'm going to be honest, getting these out of the truck is a pain in the ass. You have to remove the bumper and get to all 4 bolts, then remove it from the vehicle. It is just not difficult, but just tedious. I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can figure it out. There's lots of videos out there online to do that. But once you do have it out, you're going to come around to the back of the headlight, and you're going to be focusing on this opening here, which is where the low beam is. So go ahead and remove the cap, and then you are exposing the OEM projector down inside the hole there. You're going to want to remove your OEM bulb, which I'm just using a regular halogen bulb right now. Just going to get that up and out of the way. The OEM projector is held in with 3 screws. There's one right there, and then one kind of hidden up in this top corner. The one up in the top corner is a little difficult to get to. You'll have to kind of play with it to get it out. And once you remove the screws, the projector is loose in the housing, but you're never going to get it out in one single piece. This is actually 3 separate pieces put together. They're held together by a small clip on the back side of the projector, which is down here. I'm pointing at it with my finger, and it's just a little plastic clip that you can push, and then that releases the 3 pieces. That allows you to pull out all the sections of the projector separately. So first, you can pull out the rear shroud, like that, then the shield, and then the front projector. Let's just take a moment to compare the OEM projector on the left versus the TLR projector on the right. They're overall pretty similar in size. The OEM projector just sort of sits further back a little bit, but for the most part they are very, very close in size. That's what makes this swap relatively easy. Inserting the new projector into the hole is easy. It can go in all in one piece. You just have to kind of tilt it and then line up the 3 holes on the base of the housing, just like that. And then you can use the 3 screws that were holding the OEM projector in and tighten this in. You can reuse the 3 screws that held in the OEM projector, but you're going to need to put a couple washers on them because they're a little long. Alternatively, you can use some shorter screws if you find the same thread, but I just had some washers laying around, so I tossed a couple on there like that. The next step you can do while you have all this open is remove the cap from your high beam area to install your high beam splitter cable. You just unplug your existing high beam bulb, which in this case I'm using an LED, and then plug in the one side that goes into the feed, and then you're going to plug your LED or your bulb, your high beam bulb, into one side of the splitter, and then this other side is going to connect to the other harness that goes with the projector, which I'm going to show you now. The cable for the high beam on the projector is this little harness right here, and it comes with the cap for these 2 pins. And on the projector itself, there is a little plug for this to go into. That little plug right there on the bottom of the projector is where the end of this cable goes to. And then on the other side where these 2 pins are, you put the cap on, and that's where you plug in the other side of the high beam splitter. And once you have the high beam splitter wires all connected, you can kind of tuck them into the bottom of the housing here. There's lots of space under here. You can throw the cap back on this. Then we're ready to insert the bulb. Now there's only one way you can insert these. There's a little notch on the top. There's actually two notches on the top, and they line up to where they go on the projector. And it just basically sits in place like that. These projectors come with like a clip on the back that holds the bulb into place, and you just have to line it up and then twist it into place like that, and then the bulb is seated and locked into place. So another modification you're going to need to do is getting this low beam source OEM connector outside of your housing. And the way you can do that is by notching a small hole on the side of the housing here and removing this to get access, so that this is like the full harness of everything on the housing. This piece just comes out like that, and I'm just going to basically put a small notch right around here so that this harness can be outside of the housing, and that's what we're going to connect our Canbus adapter, which will go to the ballast, and then the ballast will connect to the bulb that'll be connected here. But for now, I want to do a small notch here so I can make sure this wire gets outside the housing. You'll have to do that on both sides. I apologize, I lost some footage of the cutting of the notch for the low beam source getting outside of the housing. But once you have the notch cut, you can bring the connector outside the housing and then close up that connector. Make the notch big enough so that when you twist the connector back into place, it doesn't pinch that low beam wire. The next thing you're going to do is modify the dust cap behind the low beam so that you can bring the igniter through to attach to the new HID bulb. You're going to need to cut a 1.5 inch hole on the back side of your dust cover. Once you drill your hole, you can pass the igniter through and then put the grommet into place. And if you really wanted, I guess you could caulk around all this all the way around. But it's got a pretty big lip on this grommet, so I'd say it's pretty sufficient. And then you can just close up the back of your housing like normal, just attaching this to your bulb. Now we're ready for ballasts. At this point in the video, I'd like to give a shout out to the Retrofit source. They have everything you need from projector kits, HID systems, HID parts, switchbacks, LED accessories, LED bulbs, assemblies, wiring, everything you need. So be sure to visit their website and give them a call if you need help. You can also send them an email. They have great customer service and usually respond really quickly to any kind of inquiry. Okay guys, so this part of the video is a couple days later than the first half of this video, because partial way through my installation I realized I had the wrong part of something. So earlier in the video I introduced you to this part here. This is a Canbus resistor. This is to cancel any errors that you might have on your vehicle formatting the HIDs. Now this will work if you are using a relay harness that has that you're only going to pull one side of your OEM source signal, and then your relay harness goes to your ballast. So this would work, but for my application where I already have a relay harness installed downstream, part of a DDM kit that relocates the DRLs, so this would not work for my specific application. So for my application I had to go with standalone Canbus adapters, as you see here. And this is basically just a standalone unit that will cancel any signals, that will take my source signal from right behind my headlight here, and then it will go into my ballast here, like so. And then I will plug in the new bulb with the D2S connector here to ignite the bulb. They come as a pair because these are standalone units. They also come with a small adapter cable to fit the bulb type from my OEM. So the OEM bulb type on my truck on Colorado's is H11. So this is an H11 plug that goes down to a 9006, which is like, this is a standard harness. It's just the type of plug here is a 9006. So that's just adapting from my H11 to the 906 to the plug, which is also 9006 for the ballast, and that goes into the ballast, and then the harness will go out to the HID bulb here. I'm going to hook it up and show you exactly what's going on so it makes it a little more clear. To give you a little background on how the Colorado headlights function. Everything is run through a single point here on the OEM system. This is a plug that it then splits to every function on the headlight. So this all comes in from the harness and then goes to each, you know, the high beam, the low beam, the turn signal, whatever else is in here. That's all done inside the housing itself. The relay harness that I have currently installed is behind this back on the vehicle. To make this work properly, I had to, you saw earlier, I brought my OEM low beam signal outside of the housing through here with the little notch I put in, and then I also added, this is the pigtail from the D2S connector that has the new HID bulb coming out of my low beam socket. What's happening now with the Canbus is I will now take my OEM low beam signal and install that into the one end of the Canbus, and make sure you get it locked in. There is a right way to install that. The other side of my ballast goes to my HID bulb like that, and then everything is kept locally on the housing. Alright, so now that I have everything kind of in place and hooked up on the housing of the headlight itself, I'm going to give you another rundown of what exactly is going on here. So starting here, we got the new projector behind this shroud right here with a D2S connector and a new D2S bulb. The connector then goes down and connects to the new ballast. The ballast then comes out and it connects to the new Canbus standalone harness. The Canbus standalone harness connects to the adapter cable that goes to the OEM signal, which is coming out of this part of the housing right here, which we notched earlier in the video. And then that's all that is done on the housing itself. Then you're just going to plug in your regular connector like normal. If you're wondering what this piece of cable is back here, this is a resistor for switchback LEDs in my turn signal. That was a separate video, but just so you're not confused. I've already got this one side already installed in the vehicle, and I'm going to go ahead and get this one back installed, and we'll get it all hooked back up and we'll go for a ride. One other thing I wanted to point out to you guys, this you're looking at right here is the bottom of the headlight housing, the back of the headlight housing, just to give you a frame of reference. Underneath the headlight inside when it's installed in the vehicle, there is lots of open space, which is why I chose to mount all of this stuff on the underside of the headlight. It's really the best location. I played with a few ideas of possibly mounting it here, but there's a metal cross brace that comes right here when you mount this to the vehicle, so that's not a good spot. There's not enough wiring to get over here, plus it's obscured as well by another cross brace. Being here is really the best location to mount your ballast and, you know, hook up all your cables using zip ties and making it nice and tidy in a package. So my ballast is just double-sided foam taped it, and this is the heavy-duty 3M stuff, the really good stuff, to the bottom of the housing. Make sure you clean both sides with alcohol prior to sticking anything, otherwise it'll never last. I've done this multiple times in other vehicles. This is the best stuff, hands down, 3M. This will not come loose forever. I'm also going to just briefly talk about the DDM tuning harness that I have installed that has the relay in it. This is what it is here. So this plug down here is the OEM headlight connector. It basically just crosses over and relocates the DRL from the low beam bulb to the turn signal bulb. This is just a pass-through. Then it also adds a relay back to the battery to give that startup power that is needed for the ballast. Obviously I'm taking my headlight connector and I'm plugging it right into the back of my headlight housing. Then I'm just lining up all the tabs for the screw holes to ensure they line up where they go. There's two on the top, there's one on the side over here, and then there's one in the front over here on the bottom. Those are all just 7mm screws. And we're just going to do a quick function test using the key fob. Normally the headlights come on when you unlock the vehicle, so I'm just going to do that now. And we have low beams. This is the back side of the grille and the bumper assembly. I'm just going to give you another kind of insider tip here. To remove the grille, there are several bolts in several locations, and then also several just pull pins. starting on the one side, this would be the driver's side, you need to remove a couple of these screws along the inner fender well, and then along the bottom there's like a waffle shaped sort of piece that holds the fender well to the front bumper. So you'll need to remove those. And once you have that out of the way, you can get your hand in, and there are 3 7mm bolts along this piece that holds the top of the bumper to the front fender. This is the driver's side front fog light, which is connected right there. Moving along, there is 2 10mm bolts near the middle that screw the tight to the bumper assembly behind it. There are also 2 push pin assemblies here on either side and here that just sort of pop into place. Along the top of the grill, these are screws accessible from the engine bay. I believe there are 6 of them. They are a Torx. And then back over here to the right, same kind of connections that you had on the driver's side. There's a couple of along the fender well that hold the liner, along the bottom where that waffle piece holds the fender liner to the bumper, and then also those 3 up here at the top that hold the bumper to the front fender. I'm going to go ahead and throw the grill back on. Alright guys, I got the bumper all stitched back together. Let's go take it for a ride. Overall, I'm very happy with the output of the 4 TRL-R projectors with the OEM HID Philips bulbs that are 4300K in color. They are very OEM looking and not too blue looking, which I really do not like. The quad high beams with the Colorado now really brighten up the road when you flip on your high beams. So you got to be careful you're not blinding people when you're running around with your high beams on, but the amount of light it puts on with the quad high beams now is just ridiculously awesome. So I also have a modification that brings on my fog lights with the high beams, which is why you're seeing highs with fogs on in this video. So that's just another thing I've done in the past. You are going to also need to properly aim your new projector headlights using the screw mechanism on the Colorado headlights. It's very easy. They go up and down. There's no side to side. But just make sure you spend some time to properly aim the headlights so you're not blinding other drivers. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd love it if you subscribed. Stay tuned for more videos. See you later.